Hey everyone, it's Ro here from adagov.org. We have been testing components of collective decision making in the community to see how they would work and what resources they would need at scale. Now, there's more information on our website, but here are a few that we did. Here's the first swarm session and what it looked like, the infamous Miro boards in action. We did this to test what collaboration means if it's truly free-form, and we tested the extreme. And on the polar opposite, here's library, a list of Catalyst resources that was maintained by the community contributions, who were sorting and curating a huge number of links and resources. Another interesting one is the CA tool we built in Fund 4 to identify the inevitable gaming of the system. It identifies reviews that buck the norm, both manually and with technology assistance. And because this information is structured, it's possible to identify patterns that make both good reviews and bad reviews. Now, more information about all that on our website and in our closeout report, but we did some fun stuff there. Now, here's what we learned. Number one, everyone in Catalyst has a different perspective. There's a certain selection bias that brings like-minded people into the Catalyst community together, and that takes us a long way towards alignment. That's the strength of the community. But it's important to remember, on the internet, our bias, our mental shortcuts, are far more extreme than when we're in physical proximity. No one in Catalyst has the same perspective, and that alignment is what we have healthy diversification and disagreements about. But the question we ask is, how do we invest in this process, make it stronger, more resilient, and healthy? One great way to unify perspective, at least over which proposals should be funded, is data. It's by leaning into the advantage that technology, and the power of data in particular, gives us to connect with each and every one, regardless of status and availability, that we can use to unify perspective. Then we have eyes, a basis to set up patterns to avoid danger, like natural collectives do. But we need this in real time. We need it to be responsive. Now, if we're going to avoid the mistakes of the past and present, we need to be thinking about number three, thinking at scale. Scale needs to be the first priority in everything we do. Making an event, providing opportunities for proposers to showcase? Well, ask yourself, if everyone were treated equally, how would it scale with 100, 1,000, and 10,000 participants? Empires have lived and died, repeated the same mistakes over and over, because they've reached the tipping point of scale over and over. We're now at the precipice again, but this time, it's time for something different and new, and we can do this with the technology we have on hand. The Catalyst community has the drive to build something better, something new. So let's take this as far as possible. Collective superintelligence is the anti-fragile governance. If we can get good at processing information as a community, we'll have great governance as a result. By the way, if you want to see how we came to these conclusions, take a look at design.adagov.org. Alright, if governance is an information processing system, how do we process information at the moment? There's a fundamental problem here. We need our tools to automate stuff for us, but we also need our tools to be flexible, and it takes time for technology to be developed from code and tested from scratch. Software change is also very complex. We have to be unified around something that's capable of rapid change, but fit for our community's needs and closer to real time. There's little point finding out after the shark has been through that there was a shark.
And I think the community is starting to be aware of this. It's obviously lags because of our relationship with idea scale, the time it takes to make changes on idea scale, etc., etc.
So this is the situation we find ourselves with the current idea management solution of the community. We've been deceived by the de facto, you see. We started with idea scale, so we think idea scale thoughts. But what if idea scale is wrong about idea generation, management, and how it should work? The current experience is isolating and not suited to the scale we want to operate at and the speed of our change. So we set out for an alternative commercial solution. We did our research across a whole number of platforms too, even creating a partnership with IdeaNote.io, who were willing to work with us. But we found that IdeaScale is the best of a bad bunch. When we interviewed the CTO of IdeaNote, we found the same issue, that change was economically driven and large frequent changes were not something companies want to do. Alright, well, how about our data? There's a lot of data literacy in the community, so a lot of people understand the value, but we found largely the community has a sense that data is something to analyze after the fact. The restrictions with the API, rather than an active, real-time measure of the progress, are passive outputs. So the conversation is about open data as Git commits. But what about people who aren't developers, but just want to browse and use this in their proposal review? This data is even more difficult to read if it's structured, connected, and has strong integrity. So, is it really accessible? We realized that we needed more than one platform to rule them all. We needed modular, extensible pieces that can do their best at one thing and are connected by open ideas and data. So we placed the possibility to design this at the heart of our Fund 5 proposal. We now have fields like behavioral economics, theory of mind, complexity theory, and machine learning, fields we couldn't even imagine 50 years ago. We need to develop a form of governance that embraces the learnings of these fields so that we don't need more kings and tribes, leaders and parties in the digital realm. Let's enable the individual and digitally coordinate projects and support our community with human collective superintelligence. Thank you.